The betrayal of Meghan Markle, a family scorned and narrative shattered. What kind of daughter skyrockets to global fame, only to spit in the face of the family that raised her, casting them aside like yesterday's trash? That's the festering wound at the heart of Meghan Markle's sordid saga. A tale that has hypnotised millions, fractured loyalties, and left her own flesh and blood reeling in disgust. Tonight we rip the veil off the sanctimonious facade of Meghan, Duchess of Deception, as we amplify the raw, unfiltered fury of Thomas Markle, Samantha Markle, and even Doria Ragland, the one person foolishly believed to be her unwavering ally. The silence is shattered, the masks are off, and the accusations will torch the carefully curated myth of Meghan Markle. Before we dive into this cesspool of betrayal, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to witness the unravelling of a global con. Picture this: a broken father, Thomas Markle, rotting alone in a dusty Mexican hovel, haunted by the moment his own daughter banished him from her fairy tale royal wedding. A half-sister Samantha, clutching faded photos, screaming into the void that the world's been fed a pack of lies. Even Doria, the sainted mother, once thought to be Meghan's rock, now betrays cracks of disillusionment under the weight of her daughter's treachery. These aren't the gripes of strangers. They're the cries of bloodkin, betrayed by a woman who'd rather sell her soul for fame than honour those who gave her everything. The knife of betrayal, they say, cuts deeper than any tabloid scandal Meghan's ever milked for sympathy. Let's get one thing straight. This isn't just royal gossip or a soap opera for the masses. This is a gut-wrenching betrayal of the most primal Bond family. Imagine your own flesh and blood, your sister, your daughter, clawing her way to the top of the world stage, only to slam the door in your face with a smirk. Would you swallow the insult in silence? Or would you roar back with the truth? Meghan spent years polishing her halo, a barrier-breaking heroine, a victim of a cruel system, a silenced voice rising above the noise. She sat across from Oprah, crocodile tears streaming, peddling her sob story to a gullible world. Multi-million-dollar deals, global campaigns, a martyr's crown, she's played the part to perfection. But her family, they're screaming a different tale, one dripping with abandonment, cruelty, and a calculated erasure that paints Meghan not as a victim, but as a cold-blooded villain orchestrating her own myth. Let's cut to the chase. Why are they spilling their guts now? Why is Thomas, once a doting father who bankrolled her dreams, now vomiting his anguish for all to hear? Why is Samantha, who claims Meghan, erased her like a bad script hurling? Accusations so vile they'd make a tabloid blush. And why, oh why, is Doria Meghan's supposed ride or die finally showing signs of cracking under the weight of her daughter's ruthless ambition? This isn't random. This isn't coincidence. Something snapped, and the truth is clawing its way out of the shadows. Rewind to the beginning. Meghan Markle wasn't born with a silver spoon. She came from a messy, blended family, full of love but laced with tension. Thomas Markle, a gritty Hollywood lighting director, slaved away to give her a middle-class life. He claims he poured his heart and soul into her dreams. School plays, auditions, the works. He was the dad who drove her to rehearsals, paid her bills, and made sure she never wanted for anything. And now he's a ghost, exiled to a lonely corner of Mexico, forced to watch his daughter's life unfold through tabloid headlines and Netflix propaganda. He says she cut him off like a dead limb. He says she disowned him when he was at his weakest. He says she abandoned him with a cruelty that stings worse than any public humiliation. Samantha Markle doesn't mince words either. She's a firestorm of rage. She accuses Meghan of reinventing herself as a self-made goddess, scrubbing her family from her story like they're stains on her royal gown. Samantha's got receipts, letters, texts, photos that expose the real Meghan behind the polished veneer. To her, it's not just about being sidelined, it's about being obliterated, as if their shared blood never existed. She's not just hurt, she's livid, and her accusations burn with the heat of 1,000 suns. But the real bombshell, Doria Ragland, the saintly mother, the quiet pillar in Meghan's chaotic world. For years, she's played the part of the loyal, dignified supporter there at the wedding, there for Archie's birth, never spilling tea to the press. But even Doria whispers suggest is buckling under the strain of Meghan's heartless choices. Their bond, once thought unbreakable, is fraying at the edges. If even her own mother is wavering, what does that say about the Duchess of Deceit's true character? Do you see the hypocrisy to the world? Meghan's the wronged daughter, betrayed by a dysfunctional family. But to her kin, she's the traitor. The one who slammed the door, turned her back, and traded loyalty for power. Two stories, one dripping with lies. Which is the truth? And why has Meghan, with all her media savvy, never faced these accusations head on? Because she knows the truth would unravel her carefully spun web. Here's where it gets juicy, the power of narrative. Meghan's built hers like a Hollywood blockbuster, plucky actress, fairy tale duchess, noble survivor. It's a tearjerker, a crowd pleaser, a masterclass in manipulation. But family stories, they're raw, ugly human. When a father sobs about being abandoned, when a sister rages about being erased, when a mother's silence screams of strain, it slices through the glitz. It makes you wonder, are we seeing Meghan's truth or just the glossy lie she's peddling? And let's talk about guts. It takes nerve to air your family's dirty laundry in public. It's humiliating, a magnet for ridicule, a one-way ticket to being labelled jealous or bitter. Yet Thomas, Samantha and even Doria are shouting louder than ever. Is it revenge? Desperation? Or is it the truth too raw to stay buried? Meghan's not just a celebrity. She's a global empire tied to royalty, philanthropy, Hollywood and power. One crack in her facade could bring it all crashing down. That's why her family's accusations hit like a sledgehammer. They're not just personal, they're a threat to her entire brand. If her own blood won't defend her, if they're calling her out as a fraud, what does that say about the saintly image she's been selling? But hold on, this is just the prelude to a twisted tale. We're about to plunge into each voice, each accusation, each damning contradiction. You'll hear Thomas's gut-wrenching pain, Samantha's blistering fury, Doria's quiet torment. You'll see how Meghan's rise to fame was built on the ashes of her family's trust. You'll face the ugly possibility that the woman hailed as a modern icon is nothing but a heartless opportunist who left a trail of broken bonds in her wake. And here's what'll keep you hooked. Not every accusation is clean. Some are raw, visceral, soul-crushing. Others are sharp, calculated, maybe even exaggerated for maximum damage. Sorting truth from vengeance, fact from fury is a minefield. But one thing's undeniable. Meghan's family has blown the lid off her perfect image. And once the truth is out, it can't be shoved back in. So strap in, because this isn't just Meghan's story, it's Thomas's, Samantha's, Doria's. Through their voices, you'll uncover a side of Meghan Markle that's been buried under layers of PR spin, a side that's cold, calculating and ruthless. You'll feel the sting of betrayal, the burn of abandonment, the weight of manipulation. And just when you think you've got her figured out, another bombshell will blow it all apart. But before we dive into Thomas Markle's soul-shattering confession, here's the cliffhanger. What if the man the world mocked for missing his daughter's wedding has a story so raw, so devastating, it obliterates the myth of Meghan forever? What if the father she discarded was the same man who worked himself to the bone to make her dreams come true? What if the dad she ghosted was the one who once saw her as his greatest triumph? That's the gut-punching hypocrisy at the core of Thomas Markle's story. A father who gave his all only to be tossed aside like garbage. Picture a lonely shack in Rosarito, Mexico. its walls plastered with fading photos, relics of a time when family meant something. Thomas Markle sits alone, phone dead, far from the glitz of palaces or the flash of red carpet cameras. On his table, crumpled newspaper clippings, grainy images of Meghan and Harry, proof of a daughter he now stalks through headlines like some pathetic stranger. No calls, no invitations, no scraps of acknowledgement. He learns about her life the way the world does, through the cold, cruel lens of media. And the irony, Thomas was once the master of light, a Hollywood lighting director who made stars shine. He won awards, knew how to craft a glow, how to make people look flawless. But now the lights he once wielded spotlight a daughter who's cast him into darkness. His own creation, his own flesh, has turned him into a nobody. Let's rewind to the moment that broke him the royal wedding. Billions watched the dress, the tiara, the pomp, a fairy tale for the ages. But one glaring absence screamed louder than the cheers Thomas Markle the father wasn't there. Instead, Meghan strutted down the aisle with Prince Charles, a royal stand-in who rubbed salt in the wound. Why? The story shifts depending on who's spinning it. Thomas swears he was ready, eager, desperate to be there. But a heart attack, a paparazzi scandal, and hospital stays derailed him. The press pounced, painting him as a buffoon, and the palace. Oh, the palace threw him to the wolves. No support, no compassion, just cold exclusion. Meghan's version A, tepid excuse, Daddy couldn't make it. But Thomas calls it what it was, erasure, a deliberate act to scrub him from her perfect day. For any parent, missing your child's wedding is a dagger to the heart. But missing your daughter's plunge into royalty, that's a public crucifixion. Billions watched, billions judged. Billions branded Thomas the unworthy father, the loser who didn't belong. And in his quiet Mexican exile, he says he was no villain. He was the victim betrayed by the daughter he raised. Ask yourself, what would that do to you? To be vilified as the deadbeat dad when you poured your life into your child's dreams. Would you stay silent, or would you scream your truth? Thomas has spent years replaying that betrayal, waiting for a call that never comes, a reconciliation that's as likely as Meghan giving up her spotlight. But it's not just the wedding, it's the aftermath. Thomas says Meghan didn't just exclude him from her royal moment, she obliterated him from her life. No visits, no calls, no mercy. He claims he begged, pleaded, grovelled for a shred of connection, but all he got was silence, a silence so cold it's practically a weapon. Imagine dialing your daughter's number, hearing it ring into oblivion, knowing she's not too busy, she's just ignoring you. Imagine pouring your heart into letters, only to wonder if they're being burned unread. For Thomas, that silence is louder than any headline, any Oprah interview, any sanctimonious speech about being silenced, because the woman who cries about her muted voice is the same one who muzzled her own father. And let's not stop there. Thomas doesn't just blame Meghan. He points the finger at Harry, that smug prince who he claims never bothered to build a bridge. Harry's controlling, suspicious, dismissive Thomas says the puppet master who egged Meghan on to sever her roots. There's a bitterness in his voice, not just as a father, but as a man. Replaced, discarded, and humiliated by a royal who wouldn't deign to shake his hand. But here's the twist. Some say Thomas dug his own grave. Those staged paparazzi photos before the wedding, the media deals, the endless interviews, critics sneer that he cashed in, betrayed Meghan first. But Thomas fires back. The press hunted him like prey, twisted his image, left him no choice. Going public wasn't betrayal, it was survival. His last gasp to reclaim his story before Meghan's machine buried it forever. So, what's the truth? Is Thomas Markle a heartbroken father clawing for his daughter's love, or a fame-hungry opportunist chasing the spotlight he accuses her of hogging? Maybe it's both. Maybe the truth is a messy collision of love and resentment. But one thing's clear, Thomas feels like roadkill run over by Meghan's ambition. He says her success was built on his sacrifices, yet he's been erased a ghost in her glittering narrative. Whether you pity him or scorn him, his pain is raw, a father who once mattered, now reduced to tabloid fodder. And here's the gut-wrenching kicker. Thomas says he'll likely never meet his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet, his own blood, his legacy kids, who'll grow up without his face, his voice, his love. To him, that's the ultimate slap, not just losing a daughter, but being robbed of grandfatherhood. His voice cracks, his eyes burn with tears, his heart bleeds as he speaks of it, a man staring down the barrel of time, knowing reconciliation is a pipe dream. So, where are we now? With a father vilified by the world, victimised by his daughter, screaming his truth in a desperate bid to be heard. But Thomas isn't alone in his rage. If his story is a slow burn of heartbreak, Samantha's is a wildfire of fury. And she doesn't just accuse Meghan of abandonment, she charges her with rewriting history itself, erasing family ties to craft a lie so brazen it'd make a politician blush. If Samantha's right, Meghan's not just a betrayer, she's a master manipulator, and her public image is nothing but a house of cards. What kind of sister stands before the world, radiant and royal, and declares you don't exist? That's the inferno raging in Samantha Markle's soul. Meghan's half-sister isn't just hurt. She's a volcano of righteous anger, spewing accusations that could incinerate Meghan's carefully crafted myth. Unlike Thomas's tear-soaked pleas, Samantha's words are daggers, sharp and unapologetic. To her, Meghan isn't a lost sister, she's a scheming liar who climbed to fame by trampling her own blood. Samantha's most damning charge. Meghan didn't just reinvent herself as an actress or duchess. She rewrote her entire existence, casting herself as a solitary, self-made star. Samantha calls it fiction, a disgusting lie that erases a father who sacrificed siblings who shared her journey, a family that was her foundation. By wiping them out, Meghan crafted a shiny, marketable myth, one free of messy half-siblings, divorced parents, and inconvenient ties. And the gall of it all, Meghan told the world she was an only child. Oprah lapped it up, interviewers nodded, millions bought the lie. But Samantha, very much alive, is screaming, "I exist and you can't erase me." Imagine your own sister denying your existence on a global stage, smiling as she paints you as irrelevant. Would you bite your tongue, or would you, like Samantha, unleash hell? She didn't just speak, she wrote The Diary of Princess Pushy's Sister, a book that's less a memoir and more a Molotov cocktail lobbed at Meghan's throne. The title alone is a slap designed to sting. Inside, Samantha paints Meghan as a cold, calculating puppet master, obsessed with controlling her image at any cost. To her, Meghan's no victim, she's a predator, slicing out anyone who doesn't fit her narrative. But Samantha's not done. She accuses Meghan of actively tormenting her family, shunning them, excluding them from milestones, tossing them aside as she climbed to the top. This wasn't an accident. Samantha insists it was a surgical strike. Meghan wanted to purge anything that didn't align with her vision of royalty, of global stardom, of untouchable perfection. Now, let's be real. Could Samantha just be a jealous nobody? Meghan's a duchess, a global icon, while Samantha's stuck in obscurity, her life a far cry from the red carpets. Is this envy dressed up as justice? Meghan's defenders scream yes. But Samantha scoffs at the notion. She doesn't want Meghan's crown. She wants the world to see the snake behind the smile. She's not after fame. She's after truth, or so she claims. Here's where it gets messy. Samantha's rage teeters between revelation and revenge. Her accusations damning detailed chip away at Meghan's saintly image. But her delivery, venomous, sensational, borderline unhinged, gives critics ammo to dismiss her as a bitter has-been. That's the paradox. Is she a whistleblower exposing Meghan's lies, or a scorned sibling grabbing her 15 minutes? Maybe both. Maybe the truth is a toxic mix of hurt and vengeance, and don't forget, the courtroom circus. Samantha sued Meghan for defamation over that only child lie in the Oprah interview. A family feud so vicious it hit the legal system. The case was tossed out legally. Samantha lost. But in the court of public opinion, she won by dragging Meghan's dirty laundry into the spotlight, forcing the world to see the rift, to feel the weight of Meghan's words. They weren't just careless, they were weapons. Samantha also rips into Meghan's victim narrative. Meghan's tales of a lonely, struggling childhood, Samantha calls them hogwash fabricated sob stories to milk sympathy. She says Meghan was privileged, pampered, even with a father who moved mountains for her. The Meghan on TV crying about hardship isn't the sister Samantha knew. She's a performance, a lie, crafted to keep the world on her side. Think about your own family. Ever had a sibling feud that festered for years? A spat that exploded at a holiday table? Now amplify that by 1,000,000,000 with the world picking sides, dissecting your pain like vultures. That's Samantha and Meghan's reality, a global cage match where every jab is front page news. And Samantha's not backing down, she's throwing punches, daring the world to listen. What makes her fury so potent? She's not alone. She amplifies Thomas's heartbreak, doubles down on his pain, and adds her own searing voice to the chorus of betrayal. Together, they paint Meghan as a serial abandoner, systematically cutting out her family with surgical precision. Their combined stories are impossible to ignore. A father's tears, a sister's rage, a portrait of a woman who'd rather burn bridges than build them. But beneath Samantha's venom lies a flicker of vulnerability, a sister who feels erased, a woman who believed blood meant something, a family member gutted by how her childhood companion could pretend she never existed. That raw hurt keeps her accusations from being dismissed outright, no matter how vicious they get. So, is Samantha exposing Meghan's true face, or is she just fanning the flames for her own gain? Is she shining a light on a liar, or trapped in a bitter spiral she can't escape? The truth is a tangle of rage and pain, just like family itself. But her story's only one piece of this ugly puzzle, because in the shadows looms another figure, one whose silence has screamed louder than any words, Doria Ragland, Meghan's supposed sainted mother. But even that Bond whispers reveal is cracking under the weight of Meghan's ruthless ambition. What happens when the one person you thought would never betray you starts to waver? That's the dagger twisting in Meghan Markle's relationship with her mother Doria Ragland. For years, Doria's been sold as the unshakable anchor in Meghan's storm, a quiet, dignified figure amidst the chaos of Thomas's tears and Samantha's tirades. She stood by Meghan at the wedding, smiled for Archie's birth, kept her mouth shut in documentaries. She was the good parent, the one who'd never sell out her daughter. But silence is a heavy burden, and when it cracks, it roars. Whispers now suggest even Doria's loyalty is fraying, strained by Meghan's cold-blooded choices. Let's go back to Meghan's childhood. She painted it as fractured weekdays with mom, weekends with dad. Doria, the yoga instructor and social worker, was the calm, the balance, the anti-Hollywood grounding force. That's Meghan's story, and it's been the bedrock of their saintly mother-daughter bond. But cracks are showing. Some say Meghan exaggerated her struggles, that Doria wasn't the ever-present saint Meghan claims. The more you dig, the murkier it gets. Fast forward to Meghan's royal ascent. Doria's thrust into the global glare cameras, stalking her tabloids, digging for dirt. Yet she stays silent, the perfect prop for Meghan's narrative. No interviews, no scandals, just quiet loyalty. For Meghan, it's a PR jackpot, a mother who won't rock the boat. But what if that silence isn't devotion? What if it's a mother swallowing her disgust, watching her daughter make choices that sicken her? But knowing one wrong word could get her banished, like Thomas and Samantha. Every family has fights. Every mother and daughter clash. But when you're dealing with royal fame, Hollywood stakes, and a media war, those cracks become canyons. Whispers from Doria's circle hint at tension. Disapproval of Meghan's family purges unease at her father's exile, worry about her relentless ambition. Doria the peacemaker may be silently seething. Here's the rub: Doria has everything to lose by speaking out. Unlike Thomas's bitter rants or Samantha's fiery lawsuits, Doria holds Meghan's trust. To her protection, her inner circle pass. Breaking ranks could mean exile just like the others. Maybe that's why she stayed quiet for so long, self-preservation, in a world where Meghan wields silence like a guillotine. But silence buries tension. It doesn't erase it. Whispers now suggest Doria feels sidelined in Meghan's glitzy new world. Royal palaces, Netflix millions, California mansions. Is Meghan not just betraying her father and sister, but subtly, cruelly, her own mother? Ask yourself, how much can one relationship take? If you're a mother, do you choke down your doubts, plaster on a smile, and pray things improve? Or do you finally crack, letting the world see the rot behind the facade? In Meghan and Harry's Netflix propaganda, Doria speaks briefly, warmly, but there's a shadow in her words. She admits the media pressure was brutal, that things have been hard. But behind her calm, there's weariness. A mother exhausted by being caught in Meghan's crossfire, torn between protecting her daughter and grappling with the fallout of her ruthlessness. Doria's not Thomas, weeping to tabloids. She's not Samantha suing and screaming. She's the quiet one. But quiet isn't content, it's a cage. And when whispers hint that even Doria's bond with Meghan is fraying, the whole narrative crumbles. If Meghan can alienate her father, erase her sister, and strain her mother who's left, is everyone else the problem, or is Meghan the common denominator? Imagine being Doria. Your daughter's a global star, married to a prince hounded by the press. You want to shield her, love her, defend her, but you also see her torture her father, wage war with her sister, and exile half her family. Do you speak up and risk being cut off, or stay silent, hoping for a miracle? That's the torture a mother trapped between loyalty and truth. For Meghan, Doria's been the poster child for unconditional love. She gushes about her in public, spins fond memories, paints her as a safe haven. But no bond is that simple. Even the strongest ties snap under pressure. And if Meghan's pushed her mother to the edge, it rewrites everything. Because if Doria's not fully on Team Meghan, the myth of the loyal, loving family collapses. Meghan's left not just estranged from her father and sister, but teetering on the edge with the one person she's always leaned on. Betrayal by a father, you can shrug it off. Estrangement from a sister, easy to dismiss. But tension with your own mother, that's a gut punch. It forces you to question not just the family drama, but Meghan's very soul. And if Doria ever breaks her silence, if she spills the truth, her words could bury Meghan deeper than Thomas and Samantha's combined. What kind of woman chooses Hollywood's glitter over the gritty loyalty of family? Critics say Meghan Markle made her choice crystal clear, and it was a middle finger to her kin. Her rise wasn't a fairy tale, it was a calculated campaign. No silver spoon here, she clawed her way from bit parts to Suits, the show that finally put her on the map. But as her star soared, her family says she turned her back, leaving them in the dust. It wasn't just distance, it was a deliberate, vicious purge. Thomas saw the shift early, a daughter drifting away, swapping family dinners for glitzy parties. Samantha calls it a master plan, a ruthless rewrite of Meghan's story to fit her ambitions. Even Doria, ever silent, may have felt the chill. Hollywood craves a clean narrative, and Meghan delivered a lone star, no messy siblings, no complicated past. But at what cost? Picture Meghan on the Suits set hobnobbing with Jessica Mulroney, Serena Williams' Oprah names that scream glamour, not grit. Slowly, her circle shifted. Family dinners with Thomas gone, chats with Samantha erased. Instead, it's charity, galas, fashion events, power connections. To Meghan, it's networking. To her family, it's a slap in the face. Samantha's brutal Meghan traded family for fame. Harsh, but it stings because it fits. When Meghan stepped into royal life, the divide became a chasm. Hollywood and royalty collided, and she leaned in hard, leaving her family to rot. Her public brand, all about compassion, kindness, family values. She preaches empathy, gushes about her mother, sells herself as loyal, but behind the curtain, Thomas languishes alone. Samantha burns with rage, and cousins, aunts, uncles claim she ghosted them. The hypocrisy is blinding. Hollywood's a beast. It rewards reinvention, demands you shed your past. Stars change, names rewrite histories, ditch embarrassing kin. Meghan's not the first. But apply that playbook to the monarchy, where tradition, lineage and roots reign, and it's a train wreck. A duchess can't hide her family story. The public demands it all. And Meghan's attempt to control her narrative crashed head-on into her family's refusal to stay silent. From Meghan's view, maybe it made sense. She's climbing from cable TV to Windsor Castle, from red carpets to royal carriages. Maybe her family felt like baggage, messy, embarrassing, a threat to her brand. In Hollywood, you cut and run. In royalty, every snub's a scandal. And Meghan's cuts were surgical. Thomas ignored, Samantha erased relatives, dismissed as irrelevant. The timing, as she hit her peak, basking in global adoration. Here's the sick irony. Meghan's all about chosen family. She and Harry wax poetic about their supportive circle, Serena, Oprah, Tyler Perry. Noble right, not to Thomas and Samantha. To them, it's a gut punch, a clear message. You're not chosen, you're not wanted. You're nothing. Ever watch someone hit the big time and ditch their old crew? Old friends ghosted, old ties cut. That's Thomas and Samantha's pain, amplified by royalty and fame. Hollywood versus family, that's the war. Meghan chose the cameras, the glamour, the power allies. To some, it's savvy. To her family, it's betrayal cold and unforgiving. And even her A-list pals can't shield her forever. Blood speaks louder than PR, and a father's tears, a sister's rage, a mother's strain, cut deeper than any celebrity endorsement. So where are we? With Meghan exposed as a fame chaser who built her empire on her family's ruins. But the ultimate betrayal. The royal wedding, a spectacle that should have united kin, but instead became Meghan's cruelest rejection, a wound so deep it's left Thomas bleeding ever since. What does it say when your happiest day is your father's darkest? Meghan's wedding to Harry was sold as a fairy tale, love, glamour, history in the making. But for Thomas Markle, it was a public execution. The cameras worshipped Meghan's radiance, but her father's absence screamed louder than the cheers. No seat for him, just Prince Charles stepping in like a royal slap in the face, a smug declaration that Thomas wasn't worthy. Rewind to the pre-wedding chaos. Paparazzi caught Thomas in staged photos, turning him into a tabloid punching bag. Critics called him a sellout. Meghan and the palace scrambled, desperate to keep their narrative spotless. Then came his heart attack hospital stays, and the final blow, Thomas wouldn't be at the wedding. Officially, it was health. Unofficially, Thomas calls it exile, a cold-blooded move to erase him from Meghan's perfect picture. He swears he was ready, eager to walk her down the aisle, but instead of support, he got silence. Imagine lying in a hospital bed, watching your daughter's wedding on TV, the world fawning while you're discarded like trash. That's Thomas's truth, a father betrayed, humiliated on a global stage. Was it bad luck, or was Meghan playing chess of Samantha's blunt? It was strategy. The wedding wasn't about love, it was about optics. A father tangled in scandal didn't fit Meghan's pristine royal image, so she sidelined him, replaced him, erased him. Every detail, the guest list, the music, the broadcast, was controlled to perfection. Thomas was just collateral damage. For Thomas, it wasn't just missing the aisle, it was the start of total erasure. No contact, since no reconciliation, no mercy. The wedding wasn't just Meghan's triumph, it was the day she buried her father for good. And it wasn't just him, cousins, aunts, uncles, all shut out, uninvited, irrelevant. To them, the wedding was Meghan's middle finger to her roots, proof she'd chosen royalty over reality. The world ate it up, praised her as a modern icon, cheered the viral photos, cemented the fairy tale. But behind the smiles, Thomas nursed a wound that festers still. Picture yourself in his shoes. You've sacrificed everything, only to be replaced by a prince on your daughter's biggest day with billions watching. Could you forgive? Or would you like Thomas? Let the pain fuel your fight. The wedding exposed Meghan's obsession with control. Every detail was orchestrated, guests, music, narrative, all polished to perfection. Thomas's absence wasn't a tragedy. It was a plot point, a duchess strutting solo to scream independence. The media swooned, but her family saw it for what it was, betrayal dressed up as empowerment. Meghan calls the day joyful yet sad, claiming her father's absence hurt. Thomas scoffs, her words are empty, her actions cold. No calls, no apologies, no attempt to mend the rift. Her sadness, a performance, a lie to keep the world on her side. And Prince Charles, walking her down the aisle, to the royals it was unity. To Meghan, a compromise. To Thomas a blade in the heart, another man stealing his role in front of the world. The fallout didn't just break Thomas. It fueled Samantha's rage, cemented the family's accusations, and proved Meghan had severed her roots for good. The wedding meant to unite, tore them apart. Thomas keeps grieving. Samantha keeps raging, and Meghan, she marches on, eyes forward, heart closed. But the wedding was just the start. What followed was worse as silence, so cruel, so absolute. It's left Thomas wondering if he even has a daughter anymore. Because when silence becomes a weapon, it cuts deeper than any words. What's worse? Angry words or a silence that suffocates. For Thomas, Samantha, and Meghan's discarded kin, it's silence Meghan's deadliest tool. Anger acknowledges you. A fight means you matter. But silence, that's annihilation, a deliberate choice to pretend you don't exist. And that's the punishment Meghan's family says she's dished out, not with screams, but with a cold, calculated hush. Picture Thomas in his Mexican exile TV, blaring with Meghan and Harry's latest PR stunt interviews, documentaries, speeches. Her voice echoes globally, but never for him. No calls, no whispers, no scraps of humanity. Her silence isn't passive, it's a guillotine slicing him out of her life. For Thomas, it's a betrayal worse than any headline. Samantha feels it too. Meghan's never addressed her publicly, never countered her accusations, never uttered her name beyond that infamous Oprah lie. I grew up as an only child. That line didn't just sting, it obliterated Samantha's existence. And since then, nothing, not a word. To Samantha, that silence is worse than lies. It's a void she's screaming into with no echo in return. Meghan's defenders call it strategy. Why feed the fire? Silence protects her brand, keeps her above the fray. Why dignify her family's rants with a response? In PR, silence is power. In family, it's poison. And the irony, Meghan's built her image on being silenced, crying to Oprah about her muted voice winning the world's tears. Her family laughs bitterly. She's not silenced. She's the silencer muting her father, her sister, her entire past to keep her narrative pristine. Is silence kindness or cruelty? If your father begged for contact, Would you ghost him as his health crumbled? If your sister fought for recognition, would you erase her entirely? Meghan might claim it's self-protection, but her family calls it sadistic, a calculated move to bury them while she shines, and the deepest cut, the grandchildren. Thomas says he's never met Archie or Lilibet. No photos, no visits, no chance to be grandpa. That silence extends to his legacy, a wound so raw it's unbearable. Samantha echoes it, saying Meghan's shut out an entire family, cousins, aunts, uncles, all erased like they never mattered. Silence is a weapon. Politicians use it to dodge scandal. Celebrities wield it for mystique. But in family, it's a slow poison, festering wounds, leaving scars. Meghan's silence, her family says, is their torment, a deliberate choice to erase them. But it works. Every time Thomas pleads, Meghan stays quiet. Every time Samantha rages, Meghan stays quiet. In that silence, she holds the reins. To her fans, it's dignity. To her family, it's damnation. But silence has a cost. The more Meghan ignores them, the louder her family screams. Their interviews grow bolder, their accusations sharper. Silence protects her, but it also fuels their fire, creating a vacuum they fill with claims of her dark side. Thomas calls her cold. Samantha brands her manipulative. Doria's quiet strain hints at worse. Silence doesn't bury their stories, it amplifies them. Ever given someone the silent treatment? Felt the power in their desperation? Now, stretch that across years, ignoring your father's pleas, denying your sister's existence, shutting out your kin forever. That's Meghan's crime, her family says. And it leads to the darkest accusation yet. What's she hiding? What truth is too ugly to face? They say it's not just abandonment, it's manipulation, control and cruelty. What if the Duchess on magazine covers is a lie? What if the humanitarian saint is behind closed doors? A calculating monster? That's the portrait her family paints. Not a royal, not a star, but a daughter and sister who's cold, cruel and obsessed with control. Meghan plays the victim, oppressed, silenced, battered by media and monarchy. The world buys it, tears and all. But her family. They call her the puppet master, pulling strings, discarding people, and crafting a lie so perfect it's chilling. Thomas says Meghan's cuts aren't protection, they're control. She decides who fits her narrative and who gets axed. Once you're useless, you're gone, silenced, forgotten, erased. Samantha goes further, branding her a narcissist, a liar who thrives on twisting reality, painting herself as the eternal victim while demonising everyone else. To her, Meghan's no saint, she's a schemer, hiding her true face behind cameras and crocodile tears. What's this dark side look like, Samantha says. Meghan's obsessed with optics, slicing out anyone who threatens her image. A woman preaching compassion but showing none to her own blood, that's the hypocrisy Samantha wants to burn down. And it's not just family. Old friends vanish. Colleagues go quiet, relatives claim they were loyal until Meghan deemed them disposable. Each cut seems small, but together a pattern of manipulation. Step into Meghan's shoes for a second, royal life's brutal paparazzi scrutiny pressure. Wouldn't you guard your story? Her defenders say yes. But her family snaps back. Control's one thing, cruelty's another, and Meghan's crossed into sadism. Take Thomas's pre-wedding health scare. He begged for a chance to reconcile, to be part of her day. Her response, ice-cold silence, a daughter more worried about her image than her father's heart. Samantha rips into Meghan's victim act. Those tales of a struggling biracial actress, a lonely royal Samantha calls them lies, exaggerated to milk sympathy. Meghan's no victim. She's a strategist, using victimhood to dodge accountability and keep the spotlight. Insiders, former colleagues, acquaintances whisper similar tales Meghan's demanding, controlling, sharp-edged when the cameras stop. Nothing illegal, but enough to hint at a duchess who's not all grace and kindness. Is Meghan's compassion real or a performance? Celebrities craft images, royals polish personas, but her family says the gap between Meghan's public saint and private sinner is a chasm. The duchess who cries for the cameras cuts off her father without blinking. The humanitarian preaching love shows none to her kin. Ever known someone sweet in public but brutal in private? That's the dissonance her family wants you to feel. Could their pain skew their view? Samantha's rage, Thomas's heartbreak? Maybe they're seeing cruelty where Meghan's just setting boundaries. But it's also possible they're right, that her silence, her control, reveal a woman who thrives on power, not compassion. The truth's messy, but their accusations are a wrecking ball, smashing Meghan's polished image. Doubt's creeping in, and in the public's eyes, doubt is poison. So, where are we? With a Meghan Markle split in two, the saint her fans worship and the villain her family despises. Both can't be true, yet both endure. But if her dark side's real, the wedding was just the opening act, a pattern of manipulation that grew uglier in her royal role. The gap between her public mask and private truth is widening, and her family's ready to tear it apart. What happens when your world-spun fairy tale crashes into your family's ugly truth? For Meghan Markle, it's a global explosion. She sells herself as compassionate, victimised, misunderstood, a duchess fighting for justice. Her family calls it a sham, a cold, cruel lie that hides a darker reality. And that gap is where her empire starts to crumble. Meghan's public image is a masterpiece. The humanitarian duchess, champion of women, warrior against racism, survivor of royal cruelty. Her speeches move hearts, her Oprah tears win sympathy, her vulnerability feels raw. But it's all control, every outfit, symbolic every word, rehearsed every silence calculated. Family, though, family's chaos. They don't follow scripts, they know your flaws. And when they talk, Meghan's glossy lie collides with their gritty truth. She preaches compassion, yet hasn't spoken to Thomas in years, even as he fades. She touts honesty, but Samantha says she erased their shared past. She celebrates family, yet her kin say she shattered theirs. Each lie chips away at her halo. Her narrative's a global spectacle, primetime interviews, Netflix specials, TED Talk-style speeches. Her family's stuck in tabloids' courtrooms, low-budget TV. Her story's polished, theirs is raw. But raw hits harder a father's tears, a sister's rage, a mother's strain cut deeper than Meghan's rehearsed sobs. Which feels truer, the scripted speech or the unfiltered scream? Meghan's authenticity is her brand, but her family's accusations make it look like a lie. The more they talk, the more her realness feels like a performance. The public split, some see her as a saint, others a schemer, but the clash makes her impossible to ignore, a strength and a curse. Meghan claims the monarchy silenced her, stole her voice. Her family laughs. She's the one silencing them, ignoring calls, erasing kin. She's not oppressed, she's the oppressor. And sacrifice, she says she gave up everything for love, career, freedom, privacy. Thomas counters. He sacrificed first, working himself ragged, only to be tossed aside when she hit the top. Who's the real martyr? Meghan's image thrives on empathy, tears, struggles, pain. Her family's fueled by betrayal accusations, exposés, rage. Both grab you, both make truth slippery. Every time she plays the compassionate card, her family screams. What about us? Every kindness she preaches, they counter with cruelty. Every silence she mourns, they say she inflicted first. The contradiction's a trap. Imagine your own life. You craft a perfect public face, but your family spills your secrets. Messy, flawed, raw. How long could you keep the mask on? That's Meghan's nightmare. Her silence fuels her family's fire. Every interview, Every accusation, every doubt is a grenade lobbed at her empire. So where does this leave us? With Meghan trapped in a war of stories, the one she sells and the one her family swears is true. A duchess preaching love, but accused of hate. A daughter crying silence, but wielding it as a weapon. A woman craving authenticity, but hiding behind a lie. And if that's not damning enough, Thomas Markle's tragedy, the father who gave everything only to be treated like nothing, turns the saga from contradiction to heartbreak. What happens when the man who raised you says you crushed him? What does it do when the daughter you loved now treats you like dirt? That's the wound Thomas carries, and it's about to bleed all over Meghan's fairy tale.